Good morning, Amit. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. All right. So we'll start then. So hello and welcome everyone to our webinar on how to move beyond revenue leakages and collaborate between your finance and project teams seamlessly. We will be covering the subject of the common issues faced by service organizations in their lead to cash process and how we go about solving them. Amit Prabhu joins us for this webinar as a solution subject matter expert for the services vertical, a veteran of over 10 years in this space.
Chirag, are you
Sorry?
recording this? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Chirag Joshi and I head our operations here at Arya Life Technologies for North America. In order to serve the attendees' interests, our webinar will begin with a short introduction followed by a roundup of services businesses' core functionalities and associated applications and how that usually creates a disconnect. Also, what issues arise out of the disconnect, how the different leadership roles in a service organization have different needs on how the disconnect of system creates an imbalance at an organizational level. We'll also dive into what an integrated solution looks like to give our attendees a first-hand peek into what they can expect and obviously aspire to. Sorry for that. Right. With that, let's get started. Amit and I represent Arya Life Technologies, a part of Arya Life Group, and we have offices in 4 countries and we serve customers in about 16 countries. We're one of the few NetSuite partners who have a mix of NetSuite solution provider, alliance partner, as well as an SDN partner globally. With that, we bring a whole lot of experience, and obviously with the help of our certified consultants, we aim to keep our customers successful in their digital transformation journey. So the primary business applications used by professional services organizations are obviously the corporate financial management or enterprise resource planning software, which is basically the fundamental solution required to accurately collect and report financial transactions, followed by a CRM, the automation of client opportunities or client relationship processes to improve sales and marketing efficiencies and effectiveness. We also have the professional services automation piece, which is the initiation, planning, execution, close and control of projects and services through the management and scheduling of resources that include people, both internal as well as partners, materials, and obviously equipment. Now, in terms of services organizations, we also have the HCM component or the human capital management component, which is basically the talent management solutions for recruiting, hiring, compensation, goal setting, and career and performance management. Obviously, this relies on the integration which is extracted from the employee database. And lastly, you have a BI tool, the assembly and use of information to improve decision making. Right, and now let's dive into the topic that we are talking about today, which is the quote to cash, and that would be a series of interrelated processes supported by a CRM, a professional services automation tool, and an ERP tool, along with maybe an HCM tool. Now, to optimize these fundamental business processes, executives rely on essential business applications to provide visibility, transparency, and control. Traditionally, each of these applications are offered on a standalone basis. And the true power of managing the complete quote to profit business cycle is best accomplished, obviously, by integrating best of breed applications together or purchasing an integrated suite of applications. As you can see in this process, it's a complete mess for the finance team. They must collect data from multiple systems, often manually, and key in invoices into the financial system. In addition, they need to verify the terms of the contract or the scope of work document with the customer on the agreed upon billing terms. And we all know how error-prone a manual process can be and inaccuracies that could occur when billing the customer. If the customer disputes the invoice, then we have another problem. The payment is delayed, but it also affects customer satisfaction. And this is like, as you can see in this diagram, it's a typical situation that most professional services organizations face. So with that, we arrive at some of the role-based challenges that occur. The CFO naturally is inclined with the financial side of things, with key requirements to ensure that billing is accurate throughout the term of the project. He wants to streamline time and cost management along with effective reporting capabilities to simplify accountability in the long run. They also need analytical tools and robust reporting that provide real time, on demand data, accuracy, and insight to drive your organization's performance, capabilities, and profitability, along with accurate insights to drive your organization's performance, capabilities, and profitability. In most cases, you might hear a CFO of a services organization whining or complaining about, when do I raise invoices? And how do I develop revenue predictability? How do I do RevRec, amongst other things? Now, the VP of services is obviously concerned with project execution and service delivery, optimizing staffing and utilization of resources, and while minimizing the bench strength. He or she usually would want to know about customer billing, project profitability, resource availability, performance of the resources, and the overall performance of a project. They also need systems to ensure that the project managers and team members are able to easily manage projects in real time, staying updated on project status and troubleshooting when required. Ideally, should equip project managers to identify and proactively resolve potential issues and pain points in the project cycle. So, what's the answer? Right? We'd like to present for your consideration NetSuite SRP or NetSuite Services Resources Planning. As a unified cloud-based system with a single database across all functions of a service organization, this allows one to streamline operations and drive profitability by enhancing your entire services business lifecycle. From the time a new opportunity is identified to project delivery, invoicing, and revenue recognition, you're able to eliminate double entry as you implement NetSuite SRP. As a powerful SaaS-based software, this supports your complete bid-to-bill lifecycle from customer relationship management, professional services automation, to accounting and enterprise resource planning. Everything is taken care of. You can take advantage of the endless benefits of a global business. With NetSuite that provides end-to-end business management across various currencies, subsidiaries, and divisions. You have access to real-time visibility, resource management, and operational control. And obviously, all this is anytime, anywhere because it's the cloud. So you can do this remotely. You don't have to be on premise. Dive into our pool of resource management that helps businesses match the best resources for the appropriate projects based on their skill, experience, and availability across multiple geographies. But this ensures that you're able to deliver the most well-rounded client experience. A unified system with the combination of project management, resource management, project accounting, timesheet and expense management, plus analytics powers valuable insights. At a click of a button, one can gain a clear, consolidated view of how best to navigate performance on a configurable dashboard that details all the key metrics, such as resource utilization, profit margins, your project budget versus actuals, and obviously much more. I think NetSuite comes with 200 BI points out of the box. Now, at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. With various conversations with our NetSuite customers, some of the gains that have been made are impressive. We see the key pain points relating to visibility is addressed at the top. The finance team, along with the CFO, are happier since day sales outstanding is reduced and they gain overall efficiency in the finance department. In our previous webinar, you may have heard one of our customers saying that they grew their revenue exponentially but reduced their finance team's headcount, gaining more efficiencies. Now, we find the VP services getting the key functionalities that his team needs to better utilize their resources and improving project performance. Similarly, we find gains for the CIO and the sales team as well. So let's move on to some useful information here and how it's translated into the real world occurrences that shape services organizations and how they operate today. We saw a decline in the commercial professional services adoption from 84.8% to 79%. Now, the reason for this is that many professional services organizations are moving to integrated financial solutions away from standalone professional services automation tools. Studies show the undeniable impact that professional services automation has on all aspects of the service execution. Effective resource management manifests in better staff retention, higher levels of billable utilization, and significant improvements in on time, on budget project delivery. Time and expense capture and billing simply cannot be managed effectively with antiquated spreadsheets. As we've mentioned earlier, there is a better way of doing things, right? As we showed you in the earlier slide. Now, the whole point for today is for us to see what better looks like. And for that, I'll invite Amit, who's the star of our show today, to actually dive into what an integrated system looks like.
Hey, thanks, Chirag. Chirag, if you could pass me the controls, please. Thank
There you go, sir. All yours.
Okay, perfect. You all able to see my screen, Chirag? If you can help me out here.
Not yet.
Okay. Now?
Nope.
I shared my screen.
It's starting now.
Okay.
There you go. We can
Okay.
see the home screen.
Perfect. So what I'll do today is I'll quickly run you through, how Netsuite is structured in terms of professional services plus the financials aspect, so we understand how it is tightly integrated all together. This is just the basics of what I'll be talking about. Netsuite is much more than what it looks like from today's demo, because today we are just very focused on how the system is integrated and what benefits it can fetch to you. But with all the revenue recognitions and multi-subsidiary consolidations and stuff like that kicking in, this becomes a really, really powerful system. Now, to start with, if you see here, this is something what I do every time, because there are new users out there who look at our presentations. But generally, NetSuite will have multiple roles. So I have created some roles here for the demonstration purpose. But depending on what your role is in the organization, you will see the dashboard. You will see all these tabs. It will all differ completely, and I'll show that to you. Right now, I'm logged in as a project manager, and you see that I have my dashboards and my KPIs popping up for me. So I have reminders which are more project management type, which talks about the tasks that are overdue, the tasks that I have to complete, the time records that I have to approve. So my employees might have submitted timesheets, and I might need to approve them. So all of those reminders pop up here, including the expense. And this is something what you can add or remove. It depends on your choice. It's a personal choice you have. The entire dashboard can be modified. But generally, what you would see is you would see the KPIs, which are talking about, okay, how many open projects are there? How is my billing utilization going? Are my hours going up? Are my hours going down? What is the forecast for my billing? How much am I supposed to bill next month, right? So all those forecasts are there. The better part about NetSuite is any data you see in NetSuite, or any data which is there in NetSuite, NetSuite gives you a BI tool which helps you convert the data in real time into a graphical representation, which is very, very easy to read. For example, I just clicked on the data here, and you see I have a monthly trend of billable hours, and I have the whole option of changing this to quarterly, yearly, and the way I want it. Also, I can view this in multiple ways, or export this data directly. Or if you want to use this in a presentation, directly download it as a JPG or a PNG, and you are ready on your presentations. You don't really have to make these graphs. It's all there for you in the system altogether. As you see here, the project milestones, which are there this month. So I understand, okay, how much am I overdue per milestone on all of my projects? There are 13 which are there, so I can switch between this, and I see that, okay, there are so many projects which are overdue, and there's one which is due today. So I really need to be focused on these delayed milestones, as well as what is getting due right now, right? Also, it gives me a good idea about what are my internal projects going on, what are my other projects going on, what are my resource allocation looking like. So which resources are allocated in what percentage. Now this is at a bird's eye view I'm looking at. Okay, now the same thing if I have to look at from a finance perspective or from a management perspective, right? So I would not really only want to be focused on the projects. I would want to see how those projects are impacting my financials, right? And that's where I switch to a role of executive management, or you can create roles and set up dashboards, as I said. But I have created one as executive management here, which is more of a finance-driven role. But this dashboards actually talk about how that project execution, which has been done there by my delivery team, impacts me from a financial perspective. Okay, so I understand here what are my revenue looking like, how is my expense looking like, is it going up, is it going down, how is my bank balance looking like. You have a complete picture of how your business looks like, okay, including your sales order trends. So this is the sales data which comes in, and then you have the financials, you have the financial ratios, right? So you have gross profits, what is the operating expenses, what are operating incomes. Most importantly, this is something which I thought would be of very much help, so I thought I'll show it here. This is a weekly cash projection. Okay, so you understand here how this weekly cash flows with you. Okay, so for this month I'm looking at ARs week by week, the cash received week by week, how much do I owe, how much cash am I paying, what is my net due, and what is my receivable. So at the end of the day, I'm understanding, okay, am I able to meet my cash flows this month or no? This is very important if you're in a business which has very thin margins, and your AR and AP are at most important things you need to work with. Okay. Now this is something what I had said here from a management perspective, a financial perspective. I also have set up a board metrics kind of a dashboard, which is more towards reporting into your management. Okay, which has a mixture of projects, a mixture of all the KPIs what we saw earlier, as well as it has some board metrics which I had put. Okay, so this board metrics talk about my whole revenues, gross profits, gross margins, my equity ratios, my return on equity, and stuff like that. As well, I have a customer statistics put up here, wherein I talk about how much new customers did I get. Today, last week, month before that, a month to month before that. A comparative analysis of how my acquisition strategy has been working. As well, I understand completely my sales strategy. Okay, how my sales revenues have been from a sales order perspective. Okay, so these dashboards are something what you would generally see in NetSuite, which gives you a good idea of how your project data reflects onto your financials, right? So you have your projects team executing the data or executing the projects, and managing all the project life cycle and trying to best utilize the resources. And then you have your finance team who is trying to make sense of what you're executing in terms of number crunching and in terms of understanding how these numbers can make sense and can make profit to your organization. Okay. Now, with respect to time, what I'll do is I'll quickly move on to the project section of it, uh, detailing a bit on how projects work. And then we'll quickly see maybe one invoice screen wherein we see, okay, how project data gets fetched onto the invoice screen. Okay, right. So this is one of the projects I have. And you see here, I have the job ID, which talks about the project code and the project name. It also talks about which customer this project is for, as well as who is the project manager on this. I'll quickly jump on to the project manager here. Okay. Okay, let me do this, and I'll show the customer master record. For example, Larry Nelson is my project manager on this project. And if I go to his master, I see all his details, okay, which department he belongs to, what project he is in, all the human resource details, like what is the status, is he a project resource or no, what is his labor cost, who is his approver for timesheets in case he submits, and details like the subordinates, who are all his subordinates, the work status. So my complete history of this person is something what is available to me on his employee master record. Now, not necessary that everyone should be able to see this. Again, this is defined by rights in NetSuite. You can define who sees the employee records, or even who sees certain field from an employee record and who does not see. So you might want to show some employees the subordinates and stuff like that, but you might not want to show the labor cost, right? So you can definitely do that. You can show certain details, whereas you can hide certain details of a particular employee. And this applies to records across NetSuite. Okay. Now, coming back here onto the project screen, we have put in estimated work hours and the allocated work hours. Now, this is something which gets automatically calculated by the project plan you define here. Okay, so very similar to a project plan you might be doing in other systems. Most of them use Microsoft Project Planner, but it's exactly the same. You go and create a milestone, and then you have phase, and then you have the task allocation which is done, and then you have the predecessor definitions when you say, okay, these dependencies exist to execute this this particular task. Now, all of this translates into a Gantt chart. So I'll quickly show you how a Gantt chart looks like. So this is how a Gantt chart looks like for the project I have defined there. And we talk about the entire plan, as well as how this plan would be executed over a period of time. Now, NetSuite also allows you to highlight critical paths. So in case there is a critical path and dependencies across the project, NetSuite will highlight this to you, so you understand what is the best possible execution uh, you know process for this particular project. Okay. Now, coming back here, as I said, you have multiple phases and you have tasks. But when you click open a task, what you get is the details of the task, of what resources are assigned on it, of what is the estimated work for that task. Have I allocated any work on this task? Is there any actual work performed? So in case there is some timesheet entry which is done by any resource, that's something what would appear here. And who are the people who would be working on it? What is the utilization percentage here? What billing class they belong to, and the estimated cost and the estimated work and the unit price. What price are you selling this at, right? All of those details get captured in here. And you also understand that you also understand the predecessors. There are no predecessors here. And also, this is very important, NetSuite allows you to actually put in budgets. Okay, so NetSuite allows you to put in budgets on the project, so you get project profitability. NetSuite also allows you to put budgets on a task, right? So you have extreme granular mechanism here, wherein you can actually budget onto a task as well, right? So here I have defined a budget on the task as well, and then definitely you have the system notes and the notes where you can capture, general notes, in terms of what needs to be done and what not needs to be done. Now, coming back to my schedule of the project, you see here I have a percent complete. This depends on the timesheet entries done, okay, and how much resources have been booked on the project. This view is an overview, okay, and I have an option here to actually create multiple views. Now, I have created an overview, but I can change it to a variance view, wherein I can see a variance between the estimated versus actuals versus all of those details, right? So you say what was the start date, what was the actual start date and the variance, what was the end date, what was the end date variance. You have an estimated work, what was the estimated work variance, and the cost variances as well, right? So I can create these views. It's not like NetSuite is very stubborn on how those views need to be created. You can go and create these views the way you want it. Okay. Now we have a second tab here which talks about resources which have been allocated. So I see Abby is there, Austin is there, Larry is there. All of these resources are allocated on this project. This is called as project booking or resource allocation, what's actually been done. And you see the dates, start date and end date for the allocation with the number of hours to it. Now, what kind of allocation is this is also defined here. This is just an indicator to show you, okay, whether it's a soft allocation or whether it's a hard allocation. Now, the allocation process, you can actually do it from here, or you have a separate screen wherein you can actually build up a complete allocation schedule. I can click here, and where I would reach is this screen, which talks about the allocation, right? Now, you see here Abby is there, and you see here that this is the project we were talking about, wherein Abby is allocated across the timeline, and there are other resources as well, like Austin. He is allocated on this project. This is one view of how you see the details of allocations. It's resource-wise allocation details, what you talk about, or you have other filters as well. So you can say, okay, I want it customer-wise, or I want it project-wise. You can define these filters and do the allocation. So allocation is as simple as that. This is a grid view we are showing you right now, but you also have a chart view in case you like graphical representations. You can have a chart view of allocations, and you can go and create your allocation right here as well. So you can drag and drop and move charts here and there to create your allocation. So if I want to book him here, I can just go and book him here as well. Okay. So that's something which NetSuite allows. And you have daily, weekly, monthly kind of arrangements, which talk about the view basically, okay, whether you want to view the allocations on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and stuff like that. Now, once these resources are allocated, which helps you gain visibility on two fronts. One is, okay, how much execution capacity do I have? And second is, do I need to recruit any specific skill sets which are in demand and I'm out of capacity for it, right? So coming back to the project screen, I can see the entire financials here on the project. Now, this is very important and interesting, right? Because as I'm executing the project, my financials keep on, executing. Like this project is a fixed bid milestone project, okay? And then I have a milestone schedule which I have defined on this project, which talks about 30%, 30% to 40%, and the dates of this milestones getting executed, because these milestones are tagged to the actual milestones on the schedule which is there, right? Now we also have a few project indicators here which talk about whether there is any pending task. For example, there were expenses which were supposed to be approved. I have approved them all. There were times which were not entered, but everything is entered in the system, and there is time to approve. So if there's some timesheet which is not approved yet, it will indicate to me in this project everything is green, so everything is approved, no task pending from my side. And the budget I was talking about is this budget, which is a project level budget. Okay, so we have we have definitions of labor or expense or supplies, which basically purchases against the project, and you can have an entire project budget defined in here. Okay. Now the most important thing is the related records thing. So in case you see related records, you would come to know that there are transactions. So I have one expense report here, but any transactions which are happening against this project, like procurement, expenses, invoices, your purchase, sale, any transaction happening will be listed in here. So the project manager knows what's happening. So generally what happens in companies is the projects team is separate, the software is separate, the billing system is separate. The project manager does not know if the customer has been billed, if the customer is paid, no idea of it, unless he talks to the finance and he gets the data. But here in this system, since it's an integrated system, you see all the details right here. So you really did not go and speak to 10 people from your finance team to understand what's the status of the money which is supposed to come to you. Okay. Now, the last part what I would want to show here is how this works with the invoicing, right? Because all the data entry is done here, everything is done. How do I invoice, right? So when your finance team actually goes and tries to invoice, they will see a screen something like this, which talks about the client, and then we have definitely we have some invoice numbers, date, due date, the posting period to be filled up, but that's automatically taken care of. You can have an approval mechanism in case you need it. But then you have this tabs here, this 4 tabs, it's very important tabs, right? So I'll start from backwards. So I'll say billing time, okay? So in case it's a T&M project and you need to bill that time to the customer, okay? Then you can go to billable time, and then you see all your entries, what your employees have made, which can be billed. Now it's as simple as that. I actually select which ones I need to put in, or I'll say mark all, depending on how I want it. And you see here on the subtotal, I have the whole amount calculated for me. Right? Why is that? Because I've already captured the time, I have captured the rate at which the billing should happen, and my hours are automatically calculated, right? So the system is intelligent enough to identify uh, what timesheet entries to be captured on the invoice. Similarly, if there are any expenses which are happening on the invoice, for example, your consultant's travel, right? So those expenses need to be booked back to your customers. In that case, you can actually go and book those back to your customer from billable expense tab. Very similarly, you have billable items. This is sometimes what happens is you might procure some items to execute a project. For example, you might procure maybe a testing device, or you might procure some material. Now, in that case, this can be billed back to the customer. So I simply select here, and you see that will get added to the total cost. Okay, and in case there are some other charges you want to apply, okay, for example. You have a service charge which you want to apply to a customer. So you can simply select which project you want to apply it against. So in this case, it is new ERP project. And then I can select what item I want to do. So I can say, I can pick up an inventory item, or I can say, any service item, maybe a service billing. And then I put a rate here. That's it. And I would add this. I have the total for my invoice, and I save this. So what I show you right now is basically you need not send any mail communication to your finance saying that, okay, this is the billable amount, this is the timesheet. And a lot of companies do that, right? So they have like people sitting and scanning timesheets to understand, okay, how much time was spent where. Nothing to be done here. Once the timesheet is entered, once it is approved, your finance knows exactly what needs to be billed. Okay, now that's something what we wanted to showcase today. We wanted to showcase how both the systems, the project management tool from NetSuite as well as the finance, the invoicing tool of NetSuite, works together to actually help you collaborate better and to increase the overall profitability. No question of, okay, I forgot to invoice. No question of I forgot to stop the project in case the client is not paying you, right? So all of them are on the same page. People know when to put the project on hold. People know when to raise bills. People know when you have received the money. Everything is clear for both the teams, helping you execute the project much, much, much better, and helping you get more profitability from each of the projects. I think, Chirag, if you would want to take it ahead from here.
Thanks, Amit. Wonderful as usual. Okay, let me see. Here we go. So with that, we want to thank you all for attending, and ask you if any of you have any questions. Looks like we have a very intelligent audience, and they have no questions. Give it a few more minutes. See if anybody has. Okay, since there is one. There we go. Amit, how easy or fast is it to deploy the solution?
No, I mean that's a very difficult question to answer because it depends on your organization. Now, if so, your existing complexities make a big difference. If you are a company who is starting fresh, who is ready to adopt standard practices, I mean, this solution can go live somewhere within 2.5 months. entirely, setting up processes and getting your users on board. But if your organization has a legacy of processes, there are things which we need to discuss in terms of what processes to follow, what are the best practices, and what processes can be modified to fit your business. That might go somewhere around 4 to 6 months, but that's what we are talking about here.
Thank you. I think the next question is, can small to mid-sized organizations afford this?
Absolutely. So if you're someone who is executing projects and feel the pain that your finance and your project should be together, generally it happens after you scale to a certain extent. That's when it's time to switch to a system like this, which will work hand in hand, and that's I think something which will give you the best results.
The next question is, there are so many vendors out there. How do I choose the best one for me?
That's a difficult question to answer. There is no straight answer to this. You will have to reach out to us, and maybe we can evaluate on a case-to-case basis for that.
Right. But I think at the same time, I'd like to highlight what I'd mentioned earlier in the beginning of our presentation, which was about our experience and our geographical availability and our expertise on the platform. Those are the areas on which we should be judged. I think the next question is, what technical expertise do I need in-house?
Practically none. The system is more, user-driven. Okay, it's not for the techies. It can be for the techies if you have a lot of integrations and stuff like that. But generally, if you are a normal user, after it's deployed, you won't need much of technical skills in-house. Someone who can operate an Excel or and knows your business well should be able to manage it after certain training to them.
Next question is, can I start small and then scale up?
We are happy to sell you 2 users as well in case you want to do that. But generally, it won't happen in a services kind of a scenario, because we would need logins for all your employees to put timesheets. Now that I'm not sure if I'm interpreting the question right here, but I'm assuming that you might be a 100 employee company. You want to use only for 3 users or 4 users. Practically, it won't benefit you much. But if you are saying that, okay, you're a smaller company and you're a growing company, yes, definitely it will help you grow.
Okay. The next question is, how easy is it to create new reports?
It depends. Most of the time it is easy. NetSuite gives you an inbuilt report writer, as well as NetSuite has recently launched something called as Suite Analytics, which helps you. It's an analytics tool basically, which helps you do exactly the same what you do in Excel. So if you are comfortable doing reports in Excel, all the pivots and stuff like that, you should be comfortable doing reports here.
Okay. I think we have one more. Can I import a task planner?
If you can define a task planner, that would be great help, because you can reach out to Chirag maybe, and we can discuss this separately, because we need to understand what you mean by a task planner. If you mean you're talking about MPP, then definitely yes, we can import that. But if you mean something else, then we might have to talk and understand what exactly you mean by task planner.
Okay. So I want to actually go back to this particular slide. To answer a question from a gentleman here about, there are so many vendors out there and how do I choose the best one for me? So I think this is the slide that I'd like to talk about on that front. And based on this is what our judgment should be. Right. So I also want to go back to. So I think if we have no more questions, then we thank everyone for their time and attendance today. I certainly hope that you found value in what you saw today. If you have any inquiries or questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Contact details are mentioned here. Once again, thank you, and we wish you a great day and a great week ahead.